You gotta be related to Los.
But I mean, she brings value, you know.
What position y'all play? Was you outfield?
When I did it at the job, I was center, but in high school I did short.
She got speed and an arm.
I'm glad you see it.
Or had.
Back in 1996.
I'm glad you see it.
What position you play?
Right.
Right?
I won't catch it.
We're going to put together a new team.
I have to. Captain's mine. I love captain.
We can put an expansion team, and I'll tell the dude over the league to put us in the bottom league that we do.
Yeah.
They put us in the easiest league.
We want to hit and drink beer.
Oh, the games we was shit faced. That's when we played the best.
Yeah.
You remember when we beat that team after Robbie Howard was in the hospital or whatever? That real good tournament team that we beat.
We whooped them.
Yeah.
Didn't we? Yeah.
By 10 run roof.
Yeah.
And I was shit-faced drunk and had to go in. I mean, I'm talking about shit-faced, like about to pass out in the fucking bleachers.
8 o'clock game. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Dude, I hit a fucking double. And then somebody drove me in. I had to run home, dude. I was about to throw up everything in my body.
You pass over and stay on.
Now, it's cracked, though. I'm telling you, that softball is cracked, man. I was like, you going there again? It's Saturday. What we gonna do?
My wife used to get so mad. You care more about softball than your family.
No. I had to pay. Just one time, he go $200. Go shopping. Yeah, they said $200.
So you don't get in trouble.
Yeah.
Smart.
You on already?
Great reveal.
7:05. What you doing now? Oh, I'm good.
All right, what's going on, everyone? I want to welcome everybody to episode number 10, the season finale of Get Hooked Live. Again, I want to thank everyone who's been sharing and liking and commenting week over week. I want you to do the same tonight. And I really wanted to end the season with a hot topic, something that has been really long overdue. So tonight's topic is really going to be about race, and the thing of it is though is that race, for whatever reason, a lot of people are really uncomfortable talking about it. It's like taboo in so many different areas. You have, a lot of us, people of color who want to speak up and talk about things, and you have a lot of people of other ethnicities who are kind of hesitant about speaking up simply because they don't want to offend us, or they really feel like their opinion really won't matter. So what I decided to do was bring someone in who really doesn't give a damn about what you feel about his opinion. So I wanted to introduce my friend Bobby. Bobby, say what's up to everybody.
What's up, everybody? Thank you for having me.
All right, it's a pleasure. And again, Bobby and I spoke earlier in the week. I intentionally didn't talk specifically about the topic because I really don't know what Bobby's views are on the topic. I don't know how he feels about it. I don't know, what his stance is. But we're going to talk about it. And, the thing is, I want everybody's opinion. Everybody's, opinion certainly matters. So, we're going to be respectful. We're going to honor and value everybody's opinion. And we're really going to have some really great dialogue going on right now. And again, I'll begin with, and Bobby, I want to ask you. Hey, Los. There you go. All right, so
I'm the producer. Look.
Yeah, I know, right?
Okay,
hey, nah, you're good. All right, so I got my man Hef here with me again. Running things in the back. I got my boy Los in the background again.
What it do?
There you go. And I got my homeboy Bobby here with me as well. And Bobby, I want to ask you. I know we didn't talk about this earlier, but what are your when we talk about the race card, and we talk about when black people supposedly use the race card, what are your thoughts on that? Like, when you hear that phrase come up, what's your first impression?
I think it all depends on who's using it. who's quote unquote pulling the car.
Okay.
Because I do think, of course, there's a lot of times when it is valid that you pull a race car, because there is still racism in America, which we know, and probably worse now than it was 15, 20 years ago, because there is social media, because everybody's a tough guy on social media and will say anything behind the keyboard. So I think it really depends on the situation, who's pulling it, and why they're pulling the race car.
Yeah, and I love the response, and a key point you made there is social media. Back when we were growing up, we didn't really have social media, and we didn't have this platform to, what I've learned from social media, because I'm in a lot of private debate groups on Facebook, and people are vicious, man. And when we talk about racism and all these other things, people. They say things, you talk about these keyboard thugs, people who are behind the keyboard, they're saying all these different things, and it's really, it's really jaw dropping to me, how people feel and the racism that really exists. This is 2017, and racism has been around since, the beginning of creation, so social media, I think it's really just simply brought forward, people are now able to say things about racism that they weren't able to say before, simply because they don't have to worry about being physically assaulted. They don't have to worry about being, they don't have to worry about anybody physically assaulting them for their opinion.
Exactly.
Right.
Because what people do, they'll go online, and a lot of times you'll get the real person behind the keyboard than you will in person to your face. Because that person, they feel comfortable. They're at home, they're in their pajamas, their basketball shorts, whatever it may be. And hey, here's this going on, or this is going on in America, which I know we'll probably touch on later. Everything with Donald Trump in this world is going on. So behind the scenes, anybody's willing to say anything behind a keyboard and type something up and be a tough guy or say how they feel. But now, it can also play both ways, because a lot of times you can't read tone. Right. And you even know that dealing at work, intention of an email, text message, conversation,
right,
or how somebody's saying or how it comes across.
Right. Absolutely.
So I think a lot of America, I think it's a couple of things. I think people have gotten more bold because of social media. And I also think America's gotten more sensitive because of social media.
Definitely, and sensitivity is like, it's amazing how sensitive people are now with the smallest thing you say. And I was in this other debate group I'm in. I was talking to this guy last night, and he put up a post. He said, "Blue Lives Matter." And me being the asshole that I am,
right.
I said, "You're right. Smurfs are a national treasure, so we should value the lives of Smurfs."
Everybody loves the Smurfs.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
That's what I thought too.
Especially Papa.
I'm more of a Brady guy myself, but the thing of it is, though, it's like, and then he went on about the Civil War and that it wasn't about slavery, and I'm a history major, obviously. So I told him, well, it actually was about slavery. But he said I was pulling the race card, which I didn't see it that way. I was simply, and this isn't anything I came off the cuff with. This is what I was taught in college. It was about slavery. Lincoln abolished slavery to cripple the South. It wasn't that he was, anti-slavery necessarily, but I mean, that's why he did it. But I got accused of pulling the race card, and how do we bridge that gap? How do we get to the point where we can have an intellectual conversation about, hey, this is how I feel, that's how you feel, and we can agree to disagree? How do we get there?
I think a lot of what happens with everything, even when you see like these riots or anything going on, statues being removed or what it may be, the people that are showing up to these events are quote unquote the idiots most of the time. The educated people that have valid viewpoints or whatever it may be, they're not the ones going to these rallies acting up. So you're at home, you're watching this, you're watching the news, you're watching these people start fires, bust out windows, no matter what race it is, and then people of the opposite race that's also those type of people that are out there in the streets is watching it. And they're like, oh, well, this group of people, they're this and that, or they're idiots, or they're racist, or they don't know how to handle it this way. They're judging a whole group of people based on certain people's actions.
A select few,
right?
A select few, and that's really the frustration of a lot of people of color. And I'm not the spokesperson for all black people, so let's put that out there. But in conversations I have, it's frustrating simply because we get judged based on the actions of a few. The minute we bring up anything about race, oh, well, what about Chicago? What about black on black crime?
Right.
You know, and you know, my thing is we have black on black crime, you have white on white crime, you have white on black crime, black on white. So you can't, you have crime, period. So, but that doesn't mean that we should lose focus or lose sight of everything else that's going on.
Right.
Yeah, you know, black people are killing other black people just as white people are killing other white people, but that doesn't negate the fact that, you know, a lot of unarmed black people are being killed by the police.
Right.
You know, whether it's justified or not, that obviously that's debatable. That doesn't, you know, negate the fact that, you know, there is rampant racism in the country, you know.
Yep.
And one thing you and I kind of talked about earlier, we talked about the whole Kaepernick thing, and
right.
you know, in terms of him kneeling.
Both 49er fans.
Both 49er fans. Hey, so you feel our pain.
Exactly. Lots of pain there.
Definitely. And so, what are your thoughts on that entire situation?
I think the entire situation has taken a turn where it's really, you know, what's the story or what is the point? Like I wish in the beginning, this is not to blame Kaepernick or what he did, because he took a stand, what he believed in,
right.
which is anyone's God-given right.
Absolutely.
As a human being, as a
right.
man, woman, whatever.
Right.
You can do that. But I wish when he initially did what he did, he spoke out as to why he was doing it.
Okay.
I know it happened, and it took a little while before the story came out, but
right.
the reason behind here's why I didn't stand up for the anthem. Because there's two sides to the coin. Okay, you do have your right to take your stand, whatever it may be, to draw attention, which he has now drawn a lot of attention to the matter that needed attention drawn to.
Definitely.
So kudos to him for that.
Right.
But there's also a line that, just me believing being in corporate America, if your employer has an expectation of you to do something, do you follow that expectation?
Okay.
Because when you sign up to work there, not saying when he worked there it was in his interview or his player draft that you have to stand up for the national anthem.
Right.
But people do, and if your bosses say, hey, that's what you got to do. I mean, that's like if you go to work at your job on Monday and your boss says, Hook, I need you to write this report, and I need you to do this and that. You're supposed to go write that report or do this and that.
Yeah.
So I just wish in the beginning when the stand took place, there was more reason as to why he was taking that stand in the first place.
Yeah, and to that point, because I know, because I followed the story, and I know that, because I saw him like sitting, and the commentary was centered around him sitting. I had no idea, so I didn't know if he was injured or what. Right. And then post game, they interviewed him, and then he brought it up. But I guess my thing is like, it was I guess a silent protest, so to speak.
Right.
So he did it, but we didn't find out why until after, you know, they asked him about it. Right. So I guess my entire issue is that a lot of his detractors are saying, well, he's doing it for attention. I mean, if that was the case, he would have said more in the beginning. But all he did was he sat, and then he tried to negotiate, and then he knelt. But it's like, no matter, I think that my major issue though is that people are more focused on the act that he committed than the act that he actually is standing up for. You know, like, yeah, he knelt, and like, honestly, up until college, I stood for the national anthem. But again, me being a history major, I started reading and interpreting stuff, and I mean, you know, I don't disrespect the military. I don't stand for the anthem. That's just that's something I opted not to do.
Which I know, and based on religion, I know Jehovah's Witnesses do not stand.
They
for
don't either.
Anthem. That's their right too.
Exactly. And I go back to, and maybe, you know, a lot of people look at it on a lesser scale, but during high school, when I was in high school, we had a Black History program, and the Black national anthem was sung. All the black people stood.
Oh wow.
The white people did not stand. Right? And so the thing is, and a lot of people did it because they couldn't relate to, and I'm not saying they were wrong, because it's the Black national anthem, it's something we're proud of, so you don't have to stand for it. That's your opinion. But the thing is though, is like, why is Kaepernick being vilified? Like, he's not saying I don't like the military. He's saying, why stand up for a country who
it's not standing up for me.
It's not standing up for me, you know?
Makes a lot of sense.
And
the fact, if you look into it, I mean, what about the people that don't believe in war or reason for war?
Right.
Because a decision of a war is made, you know, by a president or made by his cabinet. You know, if they agree, hey, this is reason we need to go to war. That doesn't mean everybody agrees with the war either. So,
absolutely.
I mean, there's a few things on that. And one thing, circling back to Kaepernick, since we was on that topic, do you think if it would have been a different person that did that, things would have been handled differently. Let's go with the African American that everybody loves. Let's go with Marcus Lattimore. Let's say if he would have did that at a University of South Carolina game, would he have got as much hatred and bashed as much as Colin Kaepernick did?
Honestly,
Damn.
it's a really good question. Only because I know that Lattimore is loved by, by USC fans. Obviously, he's a citywide. He's somebody that
Right.
everyone looks up to. And right. The thing about it though, like honestly, what I know about being black in America, when people love you, they love you. But when they hate you,
They hate you.
they hate you. So if Lattimore had not stood up for the national anthem, I don't know if it would have been on the scale of Kaepernick. I guess because of Kaepernick's status as a professional ball player, but at the same time, I think he would have been met with some resistance. I honestly believe that, and because when you were doing everything the right way and you're saying all the right things, and I look at all these comments, man, and like they interviewed Dez Bryant, they interviewed Jermichael Finley, they interviewed Ray.
Jermichael Finley,
Ray Lewis, oh my God, like, and these guys seem completely clueless and oblivious to what's going on. I guess, and people call them coons and all these other things, and yes, it's a derogatory term, but at the same time, my whole point is like, how can you as a person of color be, just completely
Say it like it's not going on.
Yeah, you want to pretend like it's not going on. You know what I mean? And again, guys, make sure that you like the post. Make sure you share it. Make sure you continue commenting. Race is something that we don't talk about enough. But again, it's finally something that it's something that we definitely need to go ahead and make sure that we sweep under the rug. So we're gonna go ahead and get to some of these comments, guys. Kimberly Michelle, she's the first to comment. Thank you, Kimberly, for joining. She says it seems anytime race is brought particular by blacks, the race card insult is thrown out. Bobby, why do you think that is?
I think the person that's throwing the racism card is probably somebody that is racist. They're saying, hey, you're throwing the race card. It's usually those type of people that already are racist in themselves that's saying, hey, you're throwing the race card.
Right. So it's almost like, because anytime we bring up anything about race, oh my God, here we go again. The thing that really kills me though is when they say that racism became rampant in this country when Obama was elected. Like they blame Obama They say Obama divided the country. But you know what though? I agree with them. Obama's election did divide the country, but not because it was Obama, because the people that his detractors were racist.
Right, the racist people that automatically did not like him because he was black.
Absolutely. We want to talk about his legacy. It's too early to judge his legacy. We can't, it's not until years later when your legacy is really, determined. But if you don't like the man because he's black, just say that.
Right.
That's kind of my point.
Exactly.
Mario Harley. Mario says, I feel it's some are racist because they grew up in a household racist and was taught to be racist, and some just followed the leader because they don't know they don't want to lose so-called friends. So you're really a product of your environment. So in your background, Bobby, in terms of your family structure and your friends, how was talking about race and stuff like that? How was that growing up for you?
Now, I dealt with it coming from Lancaster, South Carolina, which is a small town, heading that way towards Rock Hill. I heard comments a lot because I think we were around the same age. I graduated high school in 98, so I was born in 80, 37 years old. When I was around, I would say between the ages of 12 and 13, when I started playing baseball. That's when I guess you would say was my first introduction to racism, because I heard an old white man came up to me after a baseball game. Our team had maybe 2 or 3 white people on it. The rest was black people on it. And he come to me after the game. Me and a few guys was hanging out. And if you remember, that's when "Color Me Bad" was out. we were playing around. we were playing around singing that song. I Want to Sex You Up. Everybody remembers that song. And the white man pulled me to the side. He said, "Come here, son." And he looks at me. He said, "I want you to know," he said, "it's okay for you to play ball with them, but you don't need to be seen with them after ball."
Wow.
White man I did not know.
Wow.
I don't know if he was somebody's parent, if he was there watching the game, if he was watching the game at another field. But that was his comment to me. I was confused.
Right.
I mean, I'm at the time a 12-year-old kid, and I'm like, what does he mean, them? You know, I mean, we're playing ball, we're having fun, so I can play ball with them, but I shouldn't be talking to them afterwards.
Wow, yeah. And to your point, though, because obviously I grew up in rural South Carolina, Allendale, South Carolina. High school was 95% black. You know, and listening to stories from my parents and grandparents, great grandparents, or whatever, and like it's not that we certainly weren't raised to hate anybody. We were raised to be cautious, be careful. Like you can't trust all of them. And some are good, some aren't so good. But with my experiences, I put people in two categories: people I fuck with and people I don't fuck with.
Right.
You know what I mean? So I'm in there. I don't categorize my friends. Like, I had somebody ask me today, hey, you should have somebody white on your show today. I'm like, well, because they asked me, well, who you got on your show? I'm like, I got my homeboy Bobby.
Right.
Like, well, you need somebody white. I'm like, well, Bobby is white.
No, he is not.
Well, according to Carlos, whether Bobby's white or not, it's debatable. But I'm like, well, Bobby is white, so I don't categorize my friends. Either we rock together, either I rock with you or I don't. Mm-hmm. And Carlos, you had a comment here. You said that the race card is a made-up term that is used when white people don't feel comfortable or have no frame or reference when talking about racism. So can you elaborate on that a little bit?
Because they don't want to discuss it, so they say, "Oh, stop playing race card," because they use that as a tactic to stop you talking about it because they can't, in my opinion. In most cases, they can't correlate or even sympathize with your story because growing up in the rural South, you are subject to race. You are judged by your race in the rural South. Mm-hmm. That does not mean all white people are judging us in a bad, negative way, but when you see that's just the way it is in life. In the South, you are judged by your race growing up. And that was 20 years ago. Now, I hope and pray that it has changed. But that's how it was growing up in the South 20 years ago.
Yeah, and to your point, Carlos, because when we talk about playing a race card, right? And I know a lot of white people I interact with. They're like, "Well, you're playing a race card. You're playing a race card." But the fact is, white people have a card they play as well. It's called privilege. And and the thing of it is, though, is like right, the P word, and simply because. If you have when we enter corporate America, because we all have jobs, and it's like, okay, well, if someone, if a white guy or a woman has a position, it's implied or it's assumed that they earned that position. But if I'm in there, I have to prove to you that I belong. It's not necessarily fair, but
Now, would that depend on who the hiring manager is? So let's say if the hiring manager is black.
Yeah. And sometimes we look out for our own. And that may be one reason why we have to prove it. Like, well, the hiring manager's black, this guy's black, so...
The reason I say that, and this is just to kind of throw a twist on it, how
right.
things can happen the other way sometimes. Mm-hmm. I actually interviewed for a job before.
Okay.
And found out when I was in the interviewing process from another party that this particular person said that he was looking to only hire a brother. And I ended up not getting that position. Mm-hmm. And I was told that confidentiality, so of course I didn't approach it or do anything further than that.
Right.
But specifically said, hey, I'm watching out for brothers. That's all I'm looking to hire. Mm-hmm. And I would never hire a white man.
Oh, wow.
So there's a job that I went for,
right.
that I was qualified for,
right.
that I had a good interview for.
Right.
But at the end of the day, I found out that I had no chance to ever get.
Right. And how that, in hindsight, how does that make, how that affect you? How did that make you feel?
Well, it helps me know what black people, my black friends, deal with or have dealt with, a lot of their lives. Because, okay, I felt that way, that day, so to speak. I was discriminated in that particular situation that I didn't get that job because I was white.
Right.
But how many times have my black friends grown up, especially in the 80s and 90s,
Right.
were judged a certain way because they walked into a store, or because they interviewed for a job,
Right.
or because they were in a classroom or took a test or whatever? How many times were they discriminated against?
Because of our skin color.
Right.
Right. Yeah, and it does go in, and I'm not happy that happened to you, because if you were qualified, you definitely should have gotten the job. But sometimes it takes you to experience a little bit of discrimination to truly understand the plight of what we have going on.
Definitely.
And you know what? And getting back to the entire Kaepernick situation, Kimberly Michelle, she said that Kaepernick was basically contracted to football not to be patriotic. Maybe he was silent as not to be stopped beforehand. Because obviously, if he had gone to his coach at the time and said, "Hey, I want to kneel for the anthem because of this reason," he never probably would have knelt in the first place.
Right.
They would have stopped him on site.
Right.
So so his job was to play football. So so what are your thoughts on Kimberly's comment about being paid, being contracted to play
that
football?
still kind of goes back before we were saying if it's debatable.
Yeah.
I mean, if your employer, if you work somewhere and they tell you, "Hey, we would really like it if you stood for the national anthem as part of your job description because we're paying you X amount. This is part of your job and what you should do." Do you do that or do you not? And if you don't, there's going to be a consequence if you don't do what your boss asks you to do, no matter what job or no matter where you work. It might not be something you agree with, but if your employer is asking you to do that, I think that's where the line comes in, where it's a tough situation.
Yeah.
Because he's taking a stand, which is something that's bigger than football.
Right,
What he's
absolutely.
standing for,
He
or not
is.
standing for in this
Right,
situation.
right.
It's something bigger than football.
Right.
But here's your employer, so it's like, what do you got to do? Like, let's say Ray Lewis. Let's use him for example.
Oh, let's not.
The fact that he doesn't agree with Kaepernick makes, tell me if I'm wrong, black people really mad.
Absolutely.
But let's say if that's honestly how let's say he's not being an Uncle Tom, and let's say he really is not, or really does not believe that's the right way to handle things. What's wrong with him having an opinion and not being ridiculed for that opinion? Because where people don't want Kaepernick ridiculed for not standing for the anthem, but those same people are upset with a Ray Lewis because he doesn't feel the same way Kaepernick does.
And and this is my own personal opinion, but the reason I feel why is that when we look at different ethnicities and like the Jewish community, they stand together. Asian community, they stand together. The white community, they stand together. For the
most part.
For the most part, for the most part, they stand together. But like when it comes to us, it's like we need to unify, and I think that we've yet to really see true solidarity in that regard. And we look at somebody like Ray Lewis. He got in trouble for potential double murder.
Right.
The black community rallied behind him. We were like, hey, he's one of us. We stand with Ray, But now, same thing with Michael Vick. He got accused of, not accused, but the dog fighting. We rallied behind him. But here are two people who, like, really, the black community supported them, to the end. And here they are saying, well, Mike Vick, like, well, Cap needs to cut his hair. He needs a better image.
Oh, yeah.
And now Ray's like, well, he's, he needs to stop what he's doing and find a better way. Like, we, as a community, I think the reason that we're so disappointed is you guys went in a similar situation, really far worse than what Cap has committed. No crime.
He committed no crime.
He's done nothing.
Right.
But you're vilifying him, and we looked. And honestly, I looked at him as sellouts and coons because I'm like, how can you sit here, and vilify the man for standing up for something that's right? Like, personally, I don't see that. I don't get that.
And see, I think some of it might be the fact because Ray Lewis, you take him. If Ray Lewis was not a good football player
Right.
and not have millions of dollars,
Right.
would he have got off with that double murder?
No.
Exactly.
No.
Exactly.
No.
Exactly. So I
Absolutely
think he's
not.
just kind of paying it back. Hey,
Yep.
NFL watched out for me. Let me watch out for the NFL. Not to mention ESPN's cutting his checks right now. So
Yeah.
he's going to say the
Good
right
point.
thing.
Right.
It's almost, like you said, I mean, it's almost like he's being a puppet or he's being politically correct
Right.
with the way they want him to act. Because
Right.
this is a guy that he looks at it. If it wasn't for his talents and his NFL ability, he would be in prison for life. So
Definitely, and I guess the thing of it is like when Kaepernick's detractors are really, when we talk about racism as a whole, whenever, you have blacks on one side and whites on another side and, Hispanics over here or whatever, all it takes is for them to get one person to Shaka. All it takes is for them to get one person to side with them. And now, he doesn't feel that he's black. He doesn't feel this way.
Oh, yeah,
so there's nothing to it. Right.
Right.
There's nothing to it.
Right.
And, and we often feel that way. And, not to call the man out, but Tashaka is somebody that, I grew up with. We come from the same hometown. And his views are, I'm sitting here like, dude, I know you. Like, these people who are cheering you on, they don't know you, they don't care. All they're looking for, and he got upset with me, I called him a token. I mean, that's what it was. Right. All they want is you to agree with what they say. So the thing is, think for yourself. The reason I really started this whole Get Hooked movement is that, I'm okay with having an unpopular opinion.
Right.
If you don't agree with me, that's fine, but we can agree to disagree, but we're going to do so respectfully, Mm-hmm. And again, guys, make sure you're liking the thread. Make sure you're commenting. Make sure you're sharing as well. All your feedback is definitely warranted. All right. So Irisha says, why do players get charged with rape, assault, and murder, but don't face the same punishment from those same employers?
It's true.
Yeah. I mean,
great point.
What's the guy's name from Indianapolis?
Well, you had that kicker, the white kicker that beat
Josh Brown,
beat the shit out of his wife,
right?
And he's back after 4 or 5 games,
right?
But a guy kneels or doesn't stand up for national anthem, and that's worth to beat the hell out of somebody.
Right.
1 game. He had a 1 game.
He got ended up with 1 game. One game. And people say Kaepernick is a horrible player. Yes.
The guy had 16 touchdowns.
He said yes.
You're horrible. He had 16 touchdowns versus only 4 interceptions last season with a 90.7 QBR. And for those of you who don't know, it's a quarterback rating. So 90.7 is pretty damn good.
I think the problem with Kaepernick, like, number one, I agree he should be on the NFL roster.
Definitely.
Because he is good enough to be on one.
And I praise on one because I don't feel
but
like
I think he's not that level of elite status where if he was absolutely elite, they would put him on a roster.
So
I think
he were
Cam Newton, he would have a job.
If he was Cam, he'd have a job.
He would have a job.
Okay.
Or Ray Lewis in his prime,
right?
He would have a job. But I think that
he's
the
on
fact
the bubble.
that well, I think it hurt him too. And this is being a 49er fan because we know little inside information here.
Right.
The fact that they said that once he got that contract, or once he had that big season, they said he became distanced from the team. He wouldn't go to the meetings. He would wear a headset in the locker room. He wouldn't speak to any of his teammates. So I think you take all of that into account, put that one big ball. Yes, the national anthem is 1 point.
Right.
But the fact that this guy, who's a quarterback, who's supposed to be the leader of your team, does not want to talk to anyone on his team, I think that has hindered him as well. But again, if he was the elite status of a Cam Newton, he would have a job.
Okay, and that's a good point. And I now, because I know recently, like just this week, right, we had 2 All-Pros. We had Marshawn Lynch, and then we had Michael Bennett.
Marshawn Lynch, a bad man.
Right, exactly. That's beast mode, right? They took a stance.
Ain't nobody gonna say that.
And now people, and now people are saying, well, they need to lose their jobs. They need to be fired. Like, so I guess, in your opinion, like we talk about this whole patriotism thing, right? So do you think it's more so about patriotism or about the people who are actually doing the protests or why they're protesting?
I think Marshawn Lynch is still mad because Pete Carroll didn't get the ball on 1 yard line.
Yeah.
You really should be.
If he was white, would he got the ball?
No. On the 1 yard line? No.
When's the last time you see a white running back?
Hey, Toby Gerhardt.
Hey, McCaffrey on the Panthers now.
I like McCaffrey.
We about to see what he's got.
Man, we claim him McCaffrey, man. He black. I don't care what y'all say.
Well, let's say you had the athletic ability as Marshawn Lynch and you were white. Well, he got that ball.
Oh, definitely.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I think what they were doing, and I know this is going off topic, but in that particular situation, the Seahawks were trying to make
Russell Wilson
as the MVP for the face of that, the Disney World, the marketing, the talking, because Pete Carroll didn't want Marshawn Lynch after the game to be holding that MVP trophy talking.
And he had a white wife at the time, so
exactly.
Yeah.
So,
exactly.
Hey man, it goes back to racism.
Yeah, exactly.
It all reverts back, and the thing of it is, though, is like we talk about anytime anything that's potentially racist related comes up, it's hey, you're playing a race card, but I don't see it that way. My thing is, if you don't want us talking about racism, stop doing racist shit. It's really that simple. When we talk about these police killings and and even when we talk about anything.
See, that's why I like live PD, because there's live cameras. They can't do that shit.
You can't do right, exactly.
I think everybody.
Somebody gonna die.
I think all that shit should be live.
No. Let me stop right there, Bobby. A black person's going down live TV. Dog, they don't care.
At that hotel.
Somewhere, a black person's going down.
You want to be on
live
TV tonight? We go park at the hotel.
No, I'm not.
Last room.
So Shelana says, I can't chime in on this one because I don't watch football. Shelana, sweetie, it ain't just about football. It's about racism, period. Obviously, we've got a bunch of guys here we're going to talk about, some of the current events that are going on. But what we're talking about more so is, and let's play role reversal a little bit. So if Cap was, white, when
his parents are white. Let's put that out there. His adopted parents that raised him are white.
They are. But to your point though, like you can be associated with as many white people as you want.
Well, you still
but the fact
black.
You're still black.
Right.
You're still black. So if Cap were white, would he be experiencing this type of racism?
No.
At all.
The hatred, no.
No.
Would he have a job? That's still debatable.
Wait. First of all, there's no such thing as racism as of right now against white people. So to answer your question, if he was white, would he experience racism? No. That's an oxymoron.
No, there is.
There's racism against white people?
It's called World Star.
World Star. Yeah, people still watch World Star.
They go in. Hey, but back to Cap.
Planet.
So with Cap, I agree with what Bobby's saying. Bobby's saying the whole thing is, this is my thing with Cap. I get what you're saying, but you don't use another person's brand and platform to make it yours. Because he has those kind of contracts and he has that money where he can make a stand and he can do it another way.
Right.
But you don't take a privilege to be in the NFL. You don't take a blessing to be in the NFL and turn something like that into your platform.
The thing is though, he didn't. He never made it known.
He did.
No, he didn't make it known. They asked him, like he knelt and he was sitting at first. And they went to him, hey, why were you sitting doing the national anthem? And then he came out and he said, this is why. So they asked him a question. The man gave an honest answer. But the thing is, though, he
could have corrected.
But years ago, though,
when you know how they feel about it, and the NFL isn't for that. So when you know how it's looked upon and how it makes your brand and your company look, then what do? And his decision was to keep up with it.
How long have you been a football fan?
Since you were like 4 or 5 years
right.
old.
So let's talk about this.
Since the 49ers were good.
Now
86.
Right. Now think of it is though, like when up until I got to research exactly when, but before during the national anthem, the players were in the locker room. They weren't on the sideline standing. So it's not patriotism. It's not patriotism. It's not about he's disrespecting the flag. So what were they doing in the locker room the entire time? I know they weren't standing then. So it's much more about that. It's not the fact that he knelt or is he sitting. It's the reason why. People don't want to talk about that. People want to gloss over it and make it seem like it's a non-issue. But the fact is, we're being targeted. And as a black man, and like we got 3 brothers here now, right? 4 and Bobby. So honestly, I'm driving down the road the other day. A cop pulls up behind me. I ain't doing nothing. Ain't got nothing in the car. I slowed down like
10 and 2.
10 and 2. Like I'm doing nothing. Like he pulls up beside me and I'm looking ahead. I ain't even doing nothing. Like we're already on pins and needles because we're so afraid. Even like and let's talk about the talk, right? When we have kids. We have daughters and sons and all this other stuff, right? And when you get stopped by a cop, you gotta follow a certain protocol. You gotta say, well, yes sir, no sir. You gotta be so respectful, regardless of what they're saying to you, because they're gonna try to incite you. Because I know that I got stopped a few years back, and me not knowing, just like my mind's going in different directions. I dropped my wallet on the floor.
Okay.
I went to go pick it up, and then they they pulled back. So I'm like,
show me your hand.
Yeah, right, exactly. And so they went.
Dropped out your pocket.
No, I did. But the thing is, though, they went through my glove compartment and they just threw stuff around. And they're like, I had dreads at the time. They're looking through my dreads.
Oh, no.
And they're like, you got anything in the car with you? But the thing is, though, like my car was ransacked, man. Like it's like stuff was on the ground, on the floor, and they were like, okay, you have a good night.
Did you have an anal cavity search too?
No, I didn't, Carlos. I hate
It wasn't
you.
voluntary.
Hey, he had a voluntary anal cavity search. Officer,
With a nightstick.
I may be guilty. Can you search me, please?
Please.
Hey, man, only a Q would say something like that, man. I'm trying to tell you, man. All right, so Kendall. Kendall says, I've seen more older white men that missed the good old days when they were the most important people in America. That's why Make America Great Again means so much to them. So,
Yeah.
is America great yet?
No. it's freaking chaos right
Yeah,
now.
it's chaos.
It's total chaos. And kind of dig off, and I think it was Carlos's post or somebody's the other day, reaping the benefits of the 401k right now, whatever's going on with the money. It's really too early in his term for anything that he's done to even make any kind of
It hasn't been a
financial
year, right?
impact.
Okay.
So if our 401k is up right now, that is due to our previous gentleman in office.
Thank you.
That is the reason our stuff is up. Because usually a president, you can't see his work until 3 to 4 years till he's out of office, because the stuff he put in place, the stuff that he passed, the bills that he passed is into play currently right now. Like he passed a lot of bills right before he stepped out of office. So these benefits that we are reaping is not what President Trump is going to get.
Bobby, I love you and your tight shirt. I love you.
I mean, it's the whole thing. Y'all got rid of Singletary, then y'all went to the Super Bowl. You know who took y'all to the Super Bowl? Singletary.
Hey,
And we can say the same thing for Tony Dungy and
hey,
You
Harbaugh.
talking about
Harbaugh is a good coach, though.
talking about Gruden.
It's a great coach.
Hey, we know Gruden. Yeah,
Listen, big man, you gonna run a 10 split 40 dive, and you gonna catch that banana split and go to. What are you talking about? I'm sorry. That was right. I'm sorry.
All right, and Quentin's commenting. So Q, thank you for commenting. 06. Quentin says Kaepernick didn't expect to be made into an activist. I don't think he did.
I don't think so either. No.
Yeah, he didn't go out and say.
But I don't think he stopped it either.
I mean, why would you? Because he wanted to bring attention, and
But what he should have did was he should have took it outside. He should have separated it.
How could you? Once it's in, it's in. Like ain't no separating it.
Even that, if you're gonna protest, you want attention to it. So therefore, if you're gonna do that, you know what? First time,
You got to reap the repercussions.
Yeah,
No, I agree with
it's
that.
like he's got to make that decision. Is my stand worth me
Yeah.
losing
Well, see,
millions and millions of dollars?
I agree with that. The First Amendment gives you the freedom of speech, but it does not give you the freedom of repercussion.
Right.
So therefore, the reason he's not getting a job is because he exercised freedom of speech. That to me, that's
And that's
fair.
what it-
Yeah, because no doubt about it, if it wasn't for what he did, he would be on the roster. I'm not saying he'd be a starter.
Without
But you tell me he would be a second stringer or a third stringer all day.
Without question.
All day.
You can't name 32 better quarterbacks.
I can.
Not 32.
I can't
You can't name 32.
I can't name
I got 3 of
64.
them. I got 3 of them.
No.
Right? You can't name 64, so he should be
Good
on
point.
somebody's roster. Yeah, definitely. So Quentin also goes on to say, half the people crying about Cap kneeling don't even stand for the flag.
Say again. Oh, yeah.
They don't,
Don't
stand
even
for the flag.
care.
I don't even care. They really
I don't
don't
even
care.
care. I mean, that's like you look at all the racial stuff that's going on right now, this Confederate stuff. These statues being pulled down, and these people are so offended by it. Those people don't even know shit, most of them. And most of them don't work, missing half their teeth, riding around with a big truck on big tires with a rebel flag on the back window, and know nothing about the Confederate War. They're racist.
Right.
And they're mad that statues come. They don't even know who the statue is, probably.
Yeah, but they know the statue is coming down.
And if there wasn't this thing called the World Wide Web, but they could
Right.
Google it, they wouldn't have no idea
Right.
of finding any information to even know it.
Exactly. And let's talk about Charlottesville for a minute, and because Your commander in chief the other day said that there were how do you say it? There were good people on either side.
Wow.
There were good people on both sides.
On both
end
sides.
quote.
Of that riot?
On both sides, right?
Yeah.
You know, and my whole thing is like, how good are you when we talk racism? It means that you basically mean that you're superior to another faction, another group, another race.
Mm-hmm.
Like that means that you feel that you're the dominant race, the dominant gene. Like you hold so much superiority
Just because you're different.
just because of the just because you view differently. And maybe I was raised differently, you know. But the fact is, as you know, listening to the stories that my parents and grandparents told, like they were subjected to a lot of horrible stuff, rampant racism. But they never raised me to hate white people. I wasn't raised that way. I was raised to, hey, you're black, be proud of it. You know, this is your heritage. This is what they did to us. And what happened a few years ago? Like one of my little cousins, she went to school, and one of her white classmates said, "Hey, we used to own y'all."
Wow.
You know, and we're talking about 4 or 5 years old. So where did this little white girl? Where'd she get that from? You know,
Racist parent.
yeah, right.
Or
'cause-
grandparent or something.
exactly. When I talked to Zoe,
That's sad.
and Zoe's 7 years old, when she talks about her friends at school, I ask her about, hey, what color were their eyes? What color is their hair? I don't ask her if they're white or black because she doesn't care, and neither do I. I'm all about, and I went. And what really gave me satisfaction is I went to her school, and she was like, "Dad, take a picture of me and my friends." You know, you had white kids, black kids,
Right.
Hispanic kids. They don't see that, so
That's right.
and I think that this new generation, they're going to be the ones to crush racism. Period.
I hope so.
But but you got all these old heads here who really believe.
Well,
they
the
believe.
thing that's hurting us right now, and it's not to blame our commander in chief totally for racism, but some of the stuff that's going on in America right now almost can make us take a step back to how far we have come recently, where we were counting on this generation to be the one that finally didn't believe in racism and didn't see color, and because the stuff that happened in history is getting further back now. Speaking of history, and it's never nothing that should be forgotten, because that was your ancestors, Harold's ancestors, Carlos's ancestors. There's nothing
Carlos
that should
is
ever be.
debatable. I don't know about
Yeah,
that.
Carlos is kind of weird.
yes,
He
yes.
is light skinned. So
And I got good credit.
what you got that 760?
45,
I just
45.
pushed it down. You got that 675.
But I'm working on it.
And you know what Mioka says, "I'm so happy you're still alive, Hook," and that was based on the comment I made about when I got stopped, because it's real out there, and when I tell you that we're afraid of police, we are, because we never know what's going to happen. We have to be on our best behavior. We have to make sure that we do all the right things, and I've been stopped more times than I really care to talk about, but at the same time, it's like I'm afraid, and I just think about like
Especially nighttime.
especially nighttime. And I have nephews. I have my youngest husband. I have all these family members.
And you're going to have kids that get old enough one day where they're driving at
Exactly,
nighttime.
and we have to have the talk, and it's a talk that a lot of white families, to be honest, they don't have to have, because we have to let them know, hey, this is how you act, this is what you need to say, you need to be respectful. We want our kids to come home, and what really is really discouraging is, and I choose my friends carefully, and Bobby's my friend simply because we don't agree on a lot.
Nope.
We don't agree on a lot at all.
We debate all the time.
We debate all the time.
Sometimes just for the fuck of it. 'Cause
Exactly.
Sometimes I agree with you, but I just debate just so we can.
just for the hell of it, right? But the thing is, though, is we understand and we respect each other's opinions.
Right.
You feel how you feel. I feel how I feel. We're gonna go have a beer afterwards. And that's the way it should be. All right, so Mioka makes a good point. She says Tebow takes a knee for his beliefs, and he gets commercial deals and jobs out of it. Kaepernick takes a knee, and he gets vilified.
Or does he? Is Tebow out of the league because his Christianity beliefs?
And Tebow's playing baseball, though, so
He is, but he is making
Maybe Cap
30 grand a year playing minor league. Well, he's making 100 grand a year as his actual salary.
I mean,
right now.
Cap played baseball in college as well as high school. So
And I do give Tebow credit. The fact that he has jacked 5 home runs and just walked out there is pretty impressive, because I couldn't go out there and hit 5 home runs. So it does show that he is a remarkable athlete. But now here's the question again. If Tebow wasn't so big in his Christianity and all his beliefs, let's say he kept that to himself, would he be on the NFL roster somewhere?
Tebow sucks.
Is he good enough to be a third string?
Yes.
Yeah.
He's smart. He knows the playbook. He knows the plays. He's a good locker room guy. He's a winner. He's big. He's fast. He's strong.
Yeah.
So did that get him out of the league too? I think people in this world are scared of anybody that feels strong about
In
something.
their beliefs.
Yeah.
And
I think that makes people nervous.
Look, you were shaking your head just now.
Because I'm gonna get off tangent, but Tebow would have been in the league if his big ass went to tight end like Bill Check wanted to. But first of all,
Yeah, the Patriots could have made it.
yeah, sorry for cursing.
I think some of that was Josh McDaniels' bounce back. Because wasn't that after McDaniel got there, the same guy that drafted him 25th overall in the first round? He went back to New England and then bring him back here to
Yeah,
kind
but
of
Belichick wanted
save
to
face.
go tight end or H-back. Tebow's an athlete. Tebow's a better athlete than over 50% of the black people in the NFL.
But now,
Let's be honest.
and you're right, and I don't think Tebow's a great quarterback. How many national titles he win in college?
Just two.
Just two. I mean, 2 out
Just
of 4 years.
2 out of 4 years.
Just two. Only two and a
And for a
half.
quarterback to do
Only
that,
2 in the Heisman.
and for a quarterback to do that on a level that high, NCAA Division I,
SEC.
you telling me he's not a good quarterback?
Tebow may be one of the greatest athletes in the SEC ever.
Other than Cam Newton's 1 year at Auburn, that was remarkable.
Just not a quarterback though, right?
Cam Newton's 1 year at Auburn. You take Cam, you put Cam on any team in America that year, they good.
Just not
He
a
was that
quarterback.
good, and he came from Florida, which is interesting.
Yeah,
those
exactly.
years.
Wow.
And Qatari makes a really good point. Qatari says racism can't totally be blamed on 45, but he has made it more comfortable for them to come out and let their colors show. And I agree with that simply because he made a comment during his run to the presidency, which I really didn't see coming. But he said that hey, back in the day, they would have been met with resistance. They would have been physically accosted. They would have had fire hoses brought out. So you made it cool, basically, to say, okay, well, these people out here protesting, but you know what? We're gonna go ahead and we're gonna physically assault them. And people racists have gotten a lot more bold now. They're saying these things, and
Because they think they got somebody to take up on.
exactly. And so and leadership starts from the top. So
It does.
It's and the avenue is just social media. That's why it seems like it's more bold. This is right there in your face. I can type something and I can hit enter, and I feel good about myself.
Right.
So that's what the whole it's a different world. Things really spread, and I think Kaepernick might have wanted it to spread and to get off that whole thing, but I think it took off quicker than he was ready for.
Now, if you're an NFL owner right now, and you're a businessman, and this is your money, real life money, and I know it's hard for us to even imagine the money they make, because you're talking about life changing money. Would you sign Kaepernick?
if I'm the NFL owner,
If you're the owner, and there's a chance you could sacrifice millions and millions of dollars, and your job is to make money to keep up your penthouse and whatever yacht you got, would you do it?
hey, I'm a rebel, so yeah, I'm gonna do it.
You do it?
I'm a rebel.
Okay.
First of all, let's be honest. The only reason in NFL it's not about racism. It's not about what Kaepernick did. It's about the bottom line. They don't care if you're black, white. They want that green. So therefore, if they see any effect to them making more money, they're not going to sign.
That's right.
You think Jerry Jones cares about what?
If he could make money, they would sign. Kind of like when Michael Vick came back to the Eagles that year. Michael Vick was still in his prime and had an MVP season. Anybody picked him up in fantasy football, won the championship that year. He was that damn good. If Kaepernick was that damn good, somebody would sign him.
Exactly. You're right.
And that's what it comes down to.
I disagree, because I think when I say you say he's pretty damn good. I mean, the way I look at it, he's better than I can't name 32 quarterbacks better than him. So,
Okay,
so
so
I
look at
can't.
it like
I
this.
can't see.
So look at it like this.
When you see cats coming off the street getting signed, though,
But he's better
Dan
than
Lewis.
Okay, so I'll give you that. He's better.
He's better than a lot of people on the
a
NFL
lot of
roster
people.
right now.
But
Yeah.
you know what they're going to demand? You know what he's going to demand? That
Attention.
they're not.
money.
Money.
Intention. And that is true.
And he's been in the Super Bowl.
He did opt out of a $12 million contract
That's what I'm
this
like,
year from our 49ers. Now, they're probably going to cut him anyway.
Yeah, he was going to get cut.
But
Yeah,
he
that's
did
it.
opt out. And they say Seattle was going to sign him but he wanted $10 million a year.
Well, the rumor with San Fran, if I understand, wasn't true. That they were going to come anyway. Now I heard about Seattle. Seattle wanted to sign him, but he wanted more than what it was offered. So
Right.
I mean,
Yeah, you know how rumors go though.
Yeah.
And Harold, you're an asshole. Just want to let you know that.
He is that. He knows that.
Harold says they went through my glove compartment and pulled out a whole change of clothes. You're an asshole, man. You're an asshole. All right, so Gregory Jones makes a good point. He says, bottom line, racism is taught. You know,
It
like
is.
I don't think anyone is born racist. I don't think you come out the womb saying,
No.
"Oh, I hate black people."
I mean,
you know,
that's
I
like
hate white people.
And to give an example of that, let's take a dog. Do y'all have
I
pets? Anybody have a pet? Anybody got a dog?
I got a goldfish.
Does that goldfish care if you black? No.
It depends.
It depends if you feed him or not.
Yeah.
Just kidding.
Right.
But seriously, you get a dog. A dog is never taught to be racist. A dog likes you. He never knows your color because a dog's colorblind. You're right. Racism's taught.
Yeah, and you know when we talk, like and I'm careful about, and I'm strong in my beliefs. Like I love my people, you know, and sometimes I think that my comments are really misconstrued. I think people see me as a bit of a revolutionary sometimes because I've had a lot of my family say,
is good.
yeah. I mean, they say, well,
I think it's exciting.
hey, you don't like white people. I'm like, it's not true.
It's not true.
Yeah, it's not true at all. Hey, you're racist. You're a Black Panther. It's not even the case. You know, I mean, the fact is, and as far as Black Panthers are concerned, I don't think they were never truly racist. It was all about preservation.
Right.
You know, but the thing of it is, though, I'm strong
They,
in my
they
beliefs.
had to have a certain sense of intimidation to
Exactly.
be able to withstand what was going on in the world. So,
Exactly, and the thing is, we have to be able to talk about this stuff. Though, like, there should be no ill effect. You should be comfortable enough to talk about race, and at the same time, be able to agree to disagree. Like, we can have a conversation about it. You can feel one way, I can feel another. But the thing is, and you know, a lot of the stuff Bobby said, like I didn't really think about. But I mean, you know, he made a really good point about, well, if Cap was an All-Pro, you know, would he be on a roster? I'm pretty sure he probably would.
He would.
But now he's considered really a second-tier quarterback in some people's eyes. He's not horrible, but you know, that's one thing I really didn't consider before. All I saw was the man wouldn't sign it. He's black and he's standing
Now
up.
let's say this. Let's flip this. If a white man, the next preseason game, whenever that may be, Saturday, does not stand for the anthem, what happens?
It depends. Is he a kicker?
No, to your point though, Chris Long. You know, he played with. He's a defensive lineman. Played with the Eagles now.
He kneeled, right?
Like, he didn't kneel because he said he's never going to kneel for the anthem because it means a lot to him. What he did was, Malcolm Jenkins, he isn't kneeling, but he's raising his fist. He went and put his arm around him, and he was like, people like me need to step up.
Right.
But he was like, I'm not going to kneel, so you have your own. So I think that if more white people stood up and said, hey, this is what a man, it's not about standing, sitting, kneeling. It's more so about standing up for your beliefs. So it's you know, Cap isn't kneeling because he's saying I hate America. He says there's a problem in America that we really need to address. All right, so Kimmy G says, I don't believe Cap knew his stance would have such harsh repercussions and affect his career. I'm sure he knew it would be a talking point, but not cost him his career.
Right.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he didn't think that. I mean, you know,
Find
we.
that comment so I can like it.
Yeah, because none of us thought that Cap wouldn't be on the roster. Like when all this started happening, I'm like, well, you know what? Somebody will sign him.
Well, I thought the first team he tried out for, which was Seattle. I thought Seattle was going to sign him.
I'm disagreeing.
That's what I thought.
I didn't think that because here you have a black man standing up for something for black issues. Nah, bro, they ain't about to sign you, player.
Now tell me this. Do you think he's learned his lesson now? Meaning, where he has said himself, if he signs with a team, he will stand.
Yeah.
And do you think also he will wash away the bad teammate saga where he got a little arrogant, left his headset on, and went talk to his teammates in meetings or locker rooms? Do you think if a team gave him the opportunity now, you could get that Kaepernick from a few years back that led the 49ers to the Super Bowl?
I think
so.
you would because prior to this
I think
happening,
so.
he said in the last year he would not protest anymore. Now you messing with a man money. Let's be honest. In the NFL, it's not about black, white, Puerto Rican. It's about that money.
So who's the Cleveland Browns quarterback?
Shit. Deshaun Kaiser.
Johnny Manziel,
That's what?
Robert Griffin.
Shit.
Robert Griffin's there.
Peter Griffin.
So if you're Cleveland right now, do you make that phone call? Do you make that phone call if you're Cleveland right now and you talk to this guy?
Because Hugh Jackson pretty much said, you know what, I'm a coon.
He's a coon.
I'm sorry, I ain't want to say the word.
No, he's a coon. He is what it is, man. Like, my whole thing is, like, it's okay to disagree with the man. But to say that, like, when you talk about the comments from, like, Jermichael Finley, he says that the people who are protesting is looking for attention. And his baby mama roasted him. You know, like.
Oh, no. His baby mama, the white girl.
Yeah.
If we talking about race, let's point that out. Jermichael Finley, baby mama is the white girl.
She roasted him.
How dare you talk about our black sons because I'm half white, but guess what? Society views them as black. Mm-hmm. You are a coon.
And they have 4 sons, right?
4 boys.
And she says she's white, but her sons have to be black men in America.
Exactly.
And she has to worry about it.
And he said, you probably got small penis. She probably said that, but it made funny the fact that I said that.
But
I'm pretty sure she didn't say that.
But tell me this. And this is just me playing devil's advocate, reverse psychology.
White devil.
Did she only do that for attention herself?
Probably.
Oh, I can burn him right now.
Probably.
This is mother effer that cheated on me with
See,
45
Robert,
women a night.
that's season 2
after the
topic,
game.
yes. Therefore, attention, because the internet is a stupid place for people to put their opinions regardless of how freaking stupid it is. So, yes, she did for attention.
Yeah.
But was she wrong, though?
No.
Exactly.
Not at all. And Quentin comes back and Quentin says, when I first started driving, my pops told me, son, if the man stops you, keep both hands on the steering wheel and don't make any sudden movements.
True story. When I was in high school, 95, 96, my father told me, son, don't you ever drive through Casey, South Carolina past 12 o'clock. I said, yes, sir.
Especially where Piggy Park's at.
Exactly. Now I realized, what, Daddy? It's 12:30. Where the hell was you at? But yes, sorry.
But
Next season, Carlos's daddy issues.
And I think the major divide though is that a lot of white people don't see what we actually go through. Because one vivid recollection I have is in high school when I played football. This was my junior season. We had an all-black team, and this was the first year in I don't know how long we won our region. We won a region championship. We were going in our first playoff game. You know, we're out there practicing. We had an all-black team, mind you. The group of rednecks ride by, and they're like, you know, I hope y'all niggas lose.
Wow.
You know, and we weren't bothering it. We had a really good team.
That made y'all play better, right?
It did, and we won that first playoff game. But the fact is, though, it's like it's the fact that we had to even endure that, and that's something that because you're not going to find
kids playing football, kids.
You know, I'm 16 years old at the time, and you're not going to find like I have zero desire to ride by any white facility and say, hey, you know, crackers or
honkies.
You know, honky, whatever. Like I have zero desire, and like so, how does that behavior even, you know, like that's when we talk about racism is taught.
Hey, the Jeffersons had the first set of racial color.
Yeah, but George Archie Bunker used to go at it all the time, though. Yeah, you know. But the thing is, though, it's like, and people are so like, it's like taboo to talk about racism, but we got to talk about it, man. Like, there's no way we're gonna.
I think it is good and healthy to talk about it.
Absolutely.
Now, I think the problem we have in America all goes back to what we were saying: social media. I think social media is the wrong place to talk about it sometimes.
Sometimes.
I think educated conversation. In person, video, talking, man to man, or woman to woman, man to woman, whatever it may be, is more effective than hiding behind a keyboard typing something.
Yeah, because like you mentioned earlier, you can't read tone, you can't read how somebody actually, you know, feels. But the thing is, though, you got to have the conversation. You can't be, you know, and I talk about these groups I'm in on Facebook, man, and I mean, like, these cats, man, they're relentless. Like, they, you know, they call us niggers. They, you know, they try to use insults. They say, you know, they quick to put these stats about IQ tests and like, well, blacks
trying to make you
are.
mad.
Yeah,
and if they took the test themselves, they'd be lower than anybody.
Exactly, you know, and you know, they try to throw all these things around. It's like it really shows me how ignorant people are because they feel that we all think the same. We all bleed, you know what I mean? We all bleed the same, but at the same time, it's like I don't feel like me and Los, me and Hef, you know, we don't all think alike. You know, we have different perceptions on everything. So don't just lump all black people because of a select few. because of what's going on in Chicago, hey, what about black on black crime? You know, you guys are killing each other, and man, I've never fired a gun in my life, so I have no desire to kill anybody at all.
Or you're gonna go bust out windows with bricks.
Right.
There's no such thing as black on black crime.
It's just crime.
It's crime.
It's crime, right?
Crime's crime. It doesn't matter who's.
And like me and Hook don't agree on a lot of things. Like I wear shirts down my size. Like, you know, say with you and Bobby, I don't agree on a lot of stuff they all do, but we still love each other enough that, you know what? If Hook wants to shop at Baby Gap, I'm cool with that. I'm going to Destination XL Big and Tall.
If Carlos could wear shirts like these, he would.
Well, yes. Well, hold on. That's a different show. That's a show on obesity, but it's not. You know.
Hating on my sexy, man.
Yeah.
Dang.
I'm not saying I wouldn't
That's all
wear
that
tight
is.
shirts. I'm just saying I can't wear tight shirts.
Hey, we never heard any females complain about
Yeah,
it.
exactly.
Oh, really? Look, how many?
Oh wow!
You're an asshole, man. You're an asshole. You're an asshole, bro. You are a straight up asshole.
Oh gosh.
So, hell, what's your opinion on the matter, man? Can you hear me?
Yeah, hey, on what? Cap?
Race card, period, man.
I think it's pulled up for convenience. I think it was created for convenience. I don't think it's I don't see the need for it. You know what I mean? Like everybody's everybody. You know what I'm saying? It's something created. When something is created, you can take it away. It's not natural. You know what I'm saying? And this isn't saying something for us, because for us, we've seen it, we've lived in it, all this. So like me, you, Lowe's, Bobby, everybody's lived in it. But I think it was created back in the days, and it's just something that was never let go. And I think, I don't know what it's gonna take to get past that. I thought everybody that was on that would be dead by now.
Nah,
But it's taught. It's taught from generation to generation.
Yeah.
So I think the only thing that you can do to combat it is just to teach that everybody's everybody.
I mean, what it's gonna take is conversation. We got to be able to talk about it, but not just talk like because by nature I'm a communicator, so I believe in like talking and listening.
Yeah.
Like I don't talk just to talk. Like I'm gonna let you know how I feel, but I'm not gonna summarily dismiss how you feel.
Right.
You know, and I think that if we're having a conversation and I tell you how I feel and you tell me how you feel, and at the end of the day we don't agree, that's fine. But still respect my stance, because I can only tell you my truth. People say they live by the truth, but it's like you only want to live by your truth. But I can only talk about my experiences. And who knows, the people, like, if you talk about white people who hate black people, maybe they have a legitimate reason to do so. But I need to find, but the thing is, let's talk about why. Let's not do it because you're black.
Yeah, and just even go back to what Bobby said. Like, I think one thing that really sports taught me is that with this whole team thing, like you really can't see a color or a race or anything if you're on a team.
You totally forget it.
Yeah, and the whole thing is, like, coming up, I played quarterback, and my center was a black guy. He got hurt. The center was a white guy. It didn't matter, because guess what? You're my line of defense against people trying to take my head off. So guess what? I believe in your ability. I don't believe in your race.
Right.
You see what I mean?
Which is true.
So that's the whole way that I look at it. Like, a team is a team.
Absolutely.
And I played, speaking of references, I know we were talking about ball earlier. I played ball with Carlos. We were on a team for like the last 2 to 3 years up until the previous season. And we had a mix of white people and black people on the team. And I don't think ever in one of those games that we thought about the fact that we were different races.
Right.
We were playing ball trying to win games. I don't think it ever crossed our mind, hey, the guy batting right now is black, or this guy playing center field is this race, or this and that. Now, I mean, you might have comments, you had like a badass outfielder, like we had a white guy that was really fast, like, oh, that white guy's fast.
Right.
But, you know, things like that. But, you know, you forget about that when you're in the mode of
Bobby, that ain't true, because we have black guy at bat, and we will defense. I'll say, y'all back up. It's power. The black guy is power. Back up. So it's not entirely.
Well, that's any fat guy too. You know, you see a fat guy
Yeah,
come up, you see
nah,
him get
fat
hit.
white guy. Oh, that's power. He's not
Fat
gonna
white guy,
run.
back up.
Oh yeah, that's true too.
And then Tony dribbles at the second.
All right, so again, guys, make sure you like the post, make sure you comment, and make sure you share it as well. So Kimmy G comments. Kimmy says, when I made my move to Florida, I was stopped 4 times in my first 5 months here. I was in a particular side of town when black folks aren't really accepted. One stop, the officer saw I had a CWP and asked if I had a gun. I said yes, it's locked in my glove compartment. Instead of taking my keys, he took my gun from me until he finished. There were a lot of other racist incidents that took place which caused me to move to a different county. In the 2.5 years in my new area, I haven't been stopped once. I mean, that's powerful, Kimmy, simply because it's like, you know, he took your gun before doing anything else, so he wanted to make sure he wasn't any imminent threat. So I guess what really kind of bothers me is like when we talk about law enforcement stopping you, it's like they automatically see us as a threat. Like you already know, if you stop me at like you have zero worry with me doing anything, you know, that's going to put you in danger or me in danger. At the end of the day, I got a daughter I got to go home to. And really, that's what I'm looking for right now. Anything I do, any decision I make is to make, like, I can't have my daughter grow up without her dad.
Right.
I got to get home to my daughter. So I have zero, you know, I have the utmost respect for human life. I have no desire to take your own because you got kids yourself. Mm-hmm. So I have no reason to want to do anything that's going to jeopardize that, you know? Arisha says, overt racism isn't the biggest problem today. It's the systemic oppression such as disproportionate imprisonment and access to quality education. And I can speak coming from rural Avondale, South Carolina. And, you know, me and some of my family were talking about it last night. Like, when we got into the world, we were really behind. You know, like, one of my cousins said last night that, like, he was talking to one of his homeboys in college. Right, and he a white guy grew up in Michigan, and he asked him. He told him, "Well, what did you major in high school?" And he was like, "Major in?" He was like, "Yeah, I just, you know, we didn't have majors in high school, you know, so
right.
No one taught us about
you
know, we didn't learn about credit, we didn't learn about, you know, majors, or no one ever asked me growing up, what do you want to be when you grew up? I mean, they saw what I was good at, but no one ever encouraged me, like stuff like this that I love to do. No one said, hey, why not try to do something like this, you know? And the difference is like, and I don't know, obviously I'm not white, so I don't know, but I think that maybe in a lot of white families, maybe the conversations are a little different. Maybe things are actually discussed. I don't know.
I had a ghetto ass family, man.
You had a ghetto ass family?
It's kind of hard for me to elaborate on that. Right? I mean, my shit was the same. My mom, I remember when I told my mom I was going to the University of South Carolina, which I had a full scholarship to go there. Mm-hmm. She thought it was a bad decision to go to school. Because my parents are older. Yeah. Growing up, my parents were the age of most people's grandparents.
Oh, wow.
So their thing was, once you turn 15 years old, you start working, which I did. I started working when I was 15.
Right.
And you pay money to live at home, which I did. I gave my parents $50 a week.
Okay.
Just to live at home from the age of 15, 16 years old.
Right.
So, Carlos, you fight it. So, when I told my parents I was going off to college, my mom thought that was a poor decision.
Worst idea ever, right.
But again, I think that depends on your upbringing, where you're from,
right.
Your parents, you know, your culture, all that other stuff. So.
And I think this is a great comment to end on. Larry Hartzog says, man, I love everybody. I don't care if you're blue, any color. We all God's people. We're brothers and sisters. So definitely. So Bobby, in closing, do you have any closing remarks?
Nah. I mean, I think the main thing is just to remember, you know, these people that you might see on TV or these ignorant people that you do see on social media saying things, whether you're a white person seeing a black person say it or a black person seeing a white person saying it. Don't make that judgment just because someone is that particular race, that all people of that race are that way, or all people of that race are racist or bad people, because there is bad people. Not a bad race. It's all about people, not about skin color. So I think at the end of the day, we need to remind ourselves that don't judge a group of people or skin color of anybody based on a couple of ignorant people.
Definitely, and you know, and you made a really valid point, Bob, and I appreciate your commentary. And again, I know I can sometimes come off as a revolutionary, but the fact is, just because I'm pro me, it doesn't make me anti you. So, you know, I love me all day long, but it doesn't make me want to go out and cause harm to anybody who isn't the same race I am, because I'm all about God's people, you know. And but at the end of the day, I do recognize that I'm fighting a battle that a lot of people aren't fighting. So again, guys, I really appreciate everybody joining me for season 1 of Get Hooked Live. This is episode number 10. It's the season finale, the penultimate episode. We'll be back again in October, and we have a lot of great information lined up for you. So be on the lookout. What I'm going to do from this point going forward, I'll begin because we're 10 episodes in. I'll be sharing week over week, you know, some of our past episodes. I'm getting my YouTube channel up and running as well, so make sure you guys join me, because in the fall, once I start back up, I'll still be going live here on Facebook, but I'll also be uploading that information to my YouTube channel, so that, you know, we can continue that dialogue there as well. And again, guys, it was a pleasure. I really appreciate everyone who shared, who liked, and who commented on the post. And again, it was certainly my pleasure to service you all. So, thank you.
Big ass.
This nigga.
Oh Lord.
This